And
Amy?
yes, did you know Joe?
I was at Joe's. Joe was one of my when I started the foundation. Joe was one of my first clients, and I hate to use the word client because Joe was a hero, and Joe was one of the first people I financially donated to. I went to Joe's funeral, and Joe was. I've been to 44 funerals in the last 4.5 years, and Joe was number 43. And just a couple weeks ago in New Jersey, we did an event for Laura where I put a bucket in the middle of a gymnasium, and I took advantage of the people there. And I raised about $1,800 in about 3 minutes just because I took a white bucket out, and I gave it to Laura Picaro because as soon as Joe died, Laura's benefits were cut off.
What would this bill do?
Save lives. The bill's half health care, and it's half compensation. And the centers of excellence that treat us would remain open for so many years without a yearly budget. So they can not only collect data and monitor us, but use preventive medicine with a concept, and they can do scientific research for the illnesses that are coming out now. Then the other half of the bill, these men and women who risk their lives without prejudice would be compensated for the financial burden of not having any work over the last 9 years because of their illnesses. They can't even afford to put gas in their car to get to the doctor or go to their chemotherapy appointment. They can't put food on their table. And, you know, everybody thinks 9/11 happened and it's over, but 9/11 and its devastation is running havoc through their families. You know, secondary post-traumatic, people getting divorced, kids are in therapy. I mean, this is just cruel and unusual punishment.
John,
we've gone 8 years.
You set up the Feel Good Foundation. Your last name is spelled F-E-A-L, the Feel Good Foundation. And
yes, ma'am.
You have helped many people very personally. You gave your kidney to who?
It was a no-brainer. I get about 200 or 300 emails a day on average, and somebody emailed me back in 2006 and said, I think what you're doing to help people is great. Can you link me to your website because I need a kidney? And he was a responder, and I said, no, you could just have mine. And he's like, he used a bunch of curse words saying, don't fool around a kid like that. And I still got the email on, taped it to my refrigerator. And a couple weeks later, we went and got tested. And I wasn't 100% matched, but I could have gave it to him, but there was a chance of rejection. So the hospital said, well, why don't you give it to somebody? We'll make sure he gets a better one. And we wound up doing a 6-person swap. So in essence, I got to help 3 people. And listen, I never won lotto, but that was the best feeling in the world.
Truly remarkable,
August 30th, 2007. No, I'm just an average guy who believes that you got to help people less fortunate. You know, as Americans, we have extra money, we have extra food, and we have extra body parts. And if I don't know what happened after 9/11 because everybody was so united. This country came together, and you could smell, not only feel the love and the patriotism in the air, but somewhere along the line, this country lost that love and feeling, and I think it's because of poor politics and leadership and reckless politics that this country is going in the wrong direction. And this great nation, the tenacity and the resolve and the testament after the worst horrific attack ever came together. And I'd like to see that happen again. And it's up to the White House and the Senate and the Congress to start behaving themselves and doing what's right by the American people so the American people can once again get on track with their lives and start helping each other.
John, you wrote a letter to President Obama in August, and it was around the Islamic Cultural Center in the Ground Zero area, though not at Ground Zero. What did you say?
Well, I've written a few letters to Barack Obama, and I feel like I know him without ever meeting him. Listen, I voted for the man, and I believe in his politics. But when you come out and you speak about a mosque, which if you ask the 9/11 responding community, is not that important to us. What's important to us is this bill. This bill saves lives. And, you know, I want to talk about this bill because this bill's paid for. It doesn't add to the deficit. It doesn't add taxes to the American people. In fact, the new pay-for helps the deficit. It lowers it. Now, we're in 2 wars because of 9/11. Those wars are not paid for. The Bush tax cuts are not paid for. Every bill that's gone before us and everything that's gone before us over the last few years is not paid for. We have a bill that's paid for, and yet everybody still hides behind their ideologies. People need to start acting like Americans and man up on their patriotism because men and women are sick and dying. And, wow, my mother raised me to help those less fortunate. I didn't need 9/11 to know right from wrong. I needed everybody to show how my mother raised me. And Amy, I hope I'm wrong, but I truly hope that they prove me wrong today and vote yes on this bill. And I'm confident that this bill goes on the floor today, and I'm confident that we get it done today. I've never wavered once. I said it would get done by the end of the year, and we're going to get it done.
John,
the leadership of Senator
Senator Gillibrand and Schumer have brought down the cost of the bill from 7.4, which was what the House voted on in September, to what was it, 6.2 billion. What have you lost there?
Correct. Well, really nothing. You don't really lose anything, because once the bill passes and the programs are up and running, they run out of money. They go back and get more. And again, if that's the concession, listen, even if it was $5 billion, it's still a bill and it's still a program up and running. That's what's more important. The centers of excellence need to stay open and need to be fluid, and they need to get the VCF with a special master in place. So whether it's $7 million or $5 billion or $6 billion, I'm okay with that, because at the end of the day, while the bill is no longer a 10, I give it a 7. A 7's better than a 0, and a 7 saves lives. And Senator Gillibrand and Schumer have been our champions, but more importantly, never mistake the resolve and the character of the 9/11 community, because it's because of them this bill is where it is today.
John, you've been walking the halls of Congress yesterday with other construction workers, police officers, firefighters, the first responders who went to Ground Zero after September 11th. Have you met with any of those who are refusing to sign off on this bill? Have any of you spoken to Coburn, for example?
Well, we were in the doctor's office yesterday. We spoke to his staff, and they told us his stance. We told them our stance. And listen, Amy, it was my 89th trip to D.C. over the last 5 years, and I document and mark everything. So I've met with these senators before, and their chiefs of staffs and their legislative aides. I think Dr. Coburn and Republican leadership is going to have a moment of clarity today. And I'm confident that Senator Gillibrand and Schumer are going to work out a deal where we get this bill on the floor and pass today.
And the role of Fox News in all of this, John?
The role of Fox News?
In how it's driven this story?
Listen, I think over the last few days, Fox News has done a great job, and you know, watching the anchors on Fox News drive this story to their home base has helped. And you know, let's call it like it is. Jon Stewart started a media tidal wave, and it took a comedian to get the national news to show everybody who the real comedian was. And I believe that was in D.C. So, you know, who's laughing now? I mean, it took Jon Stewart from The Daily Show to do all of this. And I spoke to Mr. Stewart the day before the show, and I was in D.C. the day of the show because I was here lobbying again. And I had the chance to go on the show, and I said, Mr. Stewart, you're on my bucket list of things to do, but I got to finish what I started. And so they put the 4 guys on the show, and
Jon Stewart
has
his
all
whole
4 of those
show,
guys that I put on that show.
The Daily Show, the whole show devoted to this.
Sure.
John, thank you very much for being with us.
Amy, thank you for having me. God bless you. I love your show.
Thanks. John Feal, construction worker, first responder at Ground Zero. He himself suffers serious health consequences, lost a part of his foot, gave a kidney to someone in need, and suffers respiratory problems. He is among many 9/11 responders who are pushing hard in Congress right now for the Senate to pass. It's James Droga bill. He's president of the Feel Good Foundation. We'll link to it at democracynow.org. When we come back, the Haley Barbour